Okay, this is a video for web integration for your new system. It's M500 263, and we're going to just give you an overview of the system. This is still in Spartanic's plant, so this is a pre-delivery look at your system. If we start over here, this is a combination electronics package and control screen. This is different than the one that you have in your first M500 system. This is a 224 2-axis correction feed as opposed to a 3. There is no touch screen on this machine. The setup is done with these push buttons here, and the information that you enter is displayed here and up there. Also, the feed operation buttons they're push buttons down here, as opposed to interacting with a touch screen. The next thing we come to is the roller input table. This is just for helping to guide the web coming out of your laminator to go into the machine. Got idler roller, two more idler rollers here and here, and that's a fixed position extruded steel arrangement that gets screwed into the side of the press. And we will, one of the things we're going to do is take video as we take it apart so that you can see how it comes apart, which will allow you to know how it goes back together. The plan now is you will do your own installation due to the COVID situation. So we're going to emphasize video and video explanations of how the equipment works, so that you won't need an in-person installation at your site in Florida. Okay, so you won't have to try to figure out where this goes. It will just mount one way. The tapped holes will be there, and you just will repeat that mounting. The next thing is the 224 feed module, and this looks very much like the 334 that you have. There is no reset button here because the reset button is for the rotation correction, and this one does not have rotation correction. It has in-out y-axis correction, and it has that same sort of knurled knob here for making mechanical adjustments of the feed. And it has the same buttons here, and it has the same type of die switch, and it attaches to the steel roll die set the same way. It's got two 5/16 18 mounting screws that go into hex posts that are on a slide in this steel roll die holder. The steel roll die holder is the same size as the one that you have now. The design is a little bit different. The stops in particular are simpler and easier to adjust. These are held in with a single screw, and we just put shims underneath the stop to increase or decrease the cutting depth. This feed has a single sensor. There is no rear sensor for this feed, and this is it, and it comes out of the same place as the near side sensor on your 334. These wheels guides are almost identical on the 224s on the 334. How you adjust the gap, how you increase the tension, are all identical. The power for the feed comes from the same place, over on the right side of the press is the power box, and that gray cable is the feed power cable, and right next to it is the connector for the foot switch. Inside this box is a power transformer. This is where the 220 power, the three-phase power, gets converted to two-phase for running the 224. There's also, this is like your current system too, you've got a circuit breaker here, and this will turn off power to the feed. On the back of the power box, there are a couple of connectors, and I don't think you're going to be using either one. One is for a slack loop detector, and the other is for a strip feed device. Those will be there, but you won't use them. Per your request, there is no slack loop detector being provided with this system. You can see here your cables. You've got your gray power cable, and you've got your feed interface cable. So this one goes to the power box, and this one wraps around here and goes into the feed. That one can't be disconnected from the feed. The electronics package, by the way, normally won't be sitting on a cart. It will be hanging from an articulating arm that looks pretty much like this one over here. It comes off the top of the press, and the electronics box will just hang from that. I think, as you know, this is also a permanent cable between the input and output modules of the feed, and then this is your Y-axis cable. You need to plug that in to get Y-axis. Input module, output module, just like on the 334 that you have. This press, I think you have a 20-ton press now. This one is a 30. 30 tons, basically, if you overload the press, if you go to 31 tons, you will break a safety disc that's inside here, which relieves the pressure on the ram. So you want to, and that can be difficult. You can get the ram stuck and cause all sorts of problems. So it's best to always operate under the maximum tonnage of the press. As a rule of thumb, you could say 1/4 ton per inch of cutting rule. So Mike is showing a breakaway disc that is behind here. And this disc is part of the ram column. It goes from the cam up here down through everything to the die set, and it's a breakaway disc. So if you exceed 30 tons, this center section pops out, and you'll have to replace the disc, but it does help to prevent damage. I don't think we'll go through the details of how to take it out right now, but we will show you how to remove that disc. The ram adjustment for this press is a cam arrangement. In order to increase and decrease pressure, you have to release this screw. That will allow you to adjust the threads of the ram screw. The way you do that, you've got this thing here. By pulling and rotating this knob, you are changing it from getting lower to getting higher. So you loosen up this screw and then turn the ratchet to either raise or lower the ram. Pushing it, turning the screw this way, lowers the ram, increases the pressure. Going the other way decreases the pressure, raising the ram. Just like with your 20-ton, this is a automatically recirculating system. Oil is pumped up and runs down through the gibs and gets collected in a oil reservoir. And when you set the press on your floor, you want to make sure that it's either that it's level, so that the oil can run to the back of this reservoir and run out through this hose, which will take it back to the oil reservoir, where it's filtered and recirculated through the system. Okay, so that's your oil reservoir right there. That's your press motor. You need an air connection for this. We typically want to have 100 psi, and the connector is right here. Power enters the machine through the bottom of the press control box, and this cable will be gone when we ship. You will get an electronics person that's licensed for your area to wire the press, and that is done. The three-phase goes up through here. Enters right there and is connected right there. So you've got your neutral, two hots. Okay. So that's the inside of the press control box. Normally you're going to keep that closed. You do have a press manual inside the box.
Electrical. Everything here.
Also, here's your label on your press. The air comes in here, and you want to have a potential for 100 psi here, and then you can adjust the level of pressure getting to the press via the regulator here. And I think we typically set it right about there. And that's a quick release for the air, which you normally won't use. Needs to be pushed in though for operation. You can see it's it's depressed down in there. Okay, we may have this off when we ship. This is the muffler for the press. And that just threads on. Just threads in right there. So that will probably come in a separate box, and you'll just screw it back in. Thank you. This box over on this side, you have one of these on your current press. This is called the AUX power box, and it has a potentiometer and a couple of connectors. One is constant power, and constant power is going to go to your two places. It's going to go to the coil extractor, so this cable here, we need constant power for that, and we also need constant power for the take-up, the rewind. The conveyor doesn't run all the time. That one gets conveyor power, and this potentiometer is what affects the conveyor power. What that controls is how long the conveyor runs after each die switch cycle. The thing that controls when the conveyor runs is the die switch, and when that operates, the conveyor is going to move, and how long, for the duration that it moves, is controlled by that potentiometer on the AUX power box. Okay, we've got a little bit of a gap here. There's going to be a table that spans between the steel roll die holder and the coil extractor. It's a fairly simple stainless steel with a 90-degree bend at one end, so that it can be fairly versatile for you. It just sits in this slot right here, and then sits on this surface. So you get your support there from this surface, and that bar there holds up the other end. The cutting anvil on this one is the same as your other one. It's a 20 thousandths piece of cold rolled steel. It's held down by magnets along this edge, and it's held in with set screws over on this side. Okay, moving on now to the coil extractor. I'm not sure if this is exactly the way yours is now. It should be pretty close. You may not have these extension arms here. If you don't have these, I think you'll find these nice to have. Also, we may have made some improvements to this ripping roller that may be nice for you. If you like this one better, I think we could probably provide this model for your older unit. The yellow, this bar is where the web bends upward, causing the cut parts to come out. The yellow rollers pull out the cut parts, and then these rollers guide the scrap web over the top, around the dancer arm, back to this roller, and then up onto the rewind. This rewind may be a little bit different than the one that you have now too. The way this is emptied, this gets turned, which releases pressure on the core. You then pull the plate out, and then the core comes off with the waste. Okay. So I think that's probably different than what you have, so you're going to be using cardboard cores for each of your rewinds. The coil extractor, the power and the speed are identical to the one that you have now. You've got your on-off button for the motor, and then your speed button for the yellow rollers. The conveyor should be pretty similar to the one you have now. It's just a flat conveyor. Drive is down at that end, and it's an interrupted running device, again with the signals for it to move coming from the die switch. The attachment of the conveyor, it attaches to the press here. It's got a couple of brackets mounted to the press, and then this sliding arrangement attaches to those brackets. The yellow tape is there to help you reassemble. So the marks are indicating where the screws should be, where the slides should be, and so forth. So you can see that this support for the conveyor is going to be mounted to the slide here. The slide's going to be pulled out to this point. By loosening this, you can actually slide this bar in and out, and this will tell you where to bring it out to so that it fits properly. You've also got, so this is for carrying the conveyor, and then this one over here is for carrying the rewind. That one also has tape marking all the positions to help you assemble it. Take a good look at all the little parts. So there's a plate here that's attached by 4 bolts up into this U-shaped arrangement that sits on the tube, and then this bracket sits on top of that. So these two can be adjusted closer or farther apart. You need to allow just enough room to fit this horizontal bar between, and then that is held in with screws. They go all the way through from this side over to this side and are held on with nuts there. Okay, so this screw is a long one. It goes all the way over to here, and then you capture it with and tighten it down with a nut. Okay, so you've got 2 of those under there. And that goes up to the rewind. These, a small table will sit on top of these plates. It gets, I guess it gets attached with wood screws into the side table for the conveyor. There's one of these here and another one there, and you just raise these up to the proper height to get the table up to the level that you want it, and then tighten up these bolts to hold it in that position. And also this is tight right now, but there's a set screw here. Loosen the set screw, and then this can go up and down. The conveyor is secure. There's 2 yokes. This one, okay, this end support and on top of that is the yoke that holds the conveyor. You can see those little clamps there that grip the edge of the extruded aluminum. Got one of those on both sides. Got one there. Okay, so there's the yoke in the front, going up to two of those clips, and then another one just like it here to support the conveyor. These will come in two pieces. This is a separate piece here, and then this piece here, the horizontal bar, the vertical bar, and they connect. They're actually dowel pins that align these two, and then you add the 4 screws to hold it together. And this one, I think, yeah, this one's threaded, so there are no nuts here. You just go into threads in this plate. You've got adjustable feet. Should be mentioned that when you place the press, you want to get it leveled. You want to get it into a good position. First thing to do is get the press where you know you want it, get it level, and then move on from there. We will ship along with the press 4 pads, and you want to put one of those under each foot, and then as necessary add some shims. Don't want the press to be rocking around. The rewind has a 3-position toggle switch. Up it runs, and then it'll be the dancer arm that controls when it runs and when it doesn't run. Then off position where it doesn't run. And this motor is a brake motor, so it won't go backwards. And you won't be able to slack the web until you throw the switch down. That will release the brake motor and allow you to turn. I can't do it right now because it's not powered, but if it were powered, the power would release the brake and the motor, and I would be able to turn this. It would allow me to relax the web and do, for example, a rescan of the registration mark or something like that.